And here we go again. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Right. Good thing you, at least here in the studio, if you're wrong, you don't go to jail.
That's right.
He just puts you in a box in there and they freeze you to death.
They do it a little different in Italy, though.
Yeah, so 6 scientists and a government official were convicted and going to some sort of jail for doing what?
They're saying a sentence of 6 years because they did not adequately warn of an earthquake, the risk of an earthquake that was coming.
So you're like one of the dogs, you can feel the earth moving.
Well, they're scientists and they're doing their job, and apparently there was an earthquake coming, and they did not expel how great and how grand it could be. 308 people died. Yeah,
that's not good, but I mean, like every weatherman in the United States would be in prison right now for faulty weather prediction, and that's ridiculous.
It does say there have been a handful of cases in the U.S. that have gone after this, and they were all just dismissed. But in Italy, you get 6 years, and
I think you should get 18 months if you predict a big snowstorm and it doesn't happen. You should get 18 months in the can.
Absolutely.
Sure. There's no way around. 6 years in jail.
Yeah, 6 years.
Wow. So we had a couple of people on the text line get that right, so we'll pick somebody there and get them out.
So after that, I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to become scientists.
Yeah, no kidding. And like now, every single nighttime TV show in Italy will be, there's going to be an earthquake tomorrow, possibly.
Right,
big one,
exactly.
big one. I
always thought being a scientist was pretty safe. But apparently not so.
No, you could blow a finger off, too, if you're not careful. It's a dangerous business. Dangerous business.
Dangerous.
I mentioned in the first part of the show today, stock market off, was it for the whole week? 205 points, largest drop in quite a while. And as I mentioned before, really politicians should hope for earnings season to be moved after the election. Amazon reported their big loss. And Amazon's a good one to look at the overall economy, I think. Because not only do they have some of their own products, but their big source of business is their shipping. And they have these big distribution centers. They have a lot of stuff from all these little companies. We talked about that before. So if Amazon's losing money, not only are they not selling enough Kindles or whatever else they sell, but they're also not moving your product and his product and my product enough. Because that's where they get their money. So that's a good indicator of what just everybody's doing. And so if Amazon's down, everybody's down a little bit. Zynga is laying off 5% of their workforce and cutting spending on the Villa. Dow Chemicals has cut 2,400 jobs and 5% of its workforce, shutting down 20 factories.
Ouch.
Facebook swung to a quarterly loss, but their stock went up. They still made $1 billion in the quarter. I don't know. For me, $1 billion is still a hell of a lot of money. I'm sorry, I'm old school. If you made $1 billion in the quarter, that's
not too shabby.
Not too shabby. And the Dow closed down, worst loss since June. NASDAQ below 3,000. So not a lot of great news. McDonald's showed some sales that were off. McDonald's is another great indicator of just kind of how things are going. I mean, they're the kind of the lowest common denominator. People will go out and get a burger and do some things too. If that's going down, then unless Jack in the Box has got a huge increase in sales, I think people are going away. Anybody else hear them note? So that was not the best week, and that's not going to help those that are in office on both sides. It's just not going to help.
Change.
So we'll see.
Change.
We'll see. Speaking of your investment portfolio and other things too, I found this interesting. So a lot of people are sick and tired of having their stock, their McDonald's stock or their Facebook stock or whatever they're holding up and down and no control over it. So they're moving their money out into other things such as classic cars, wine, sports teams, stringed instruments, and my personal favorite, because if this is not in your portfolio, you are a loser, the taxi medallion.
Taxi medallion.
You know what a taxi medallion is?
No.
You know what a taxi medallion is, Chris? So, if you're in the most coveted one, this is unbelievable, sold for $2.25 million for a taxi medallion. And if you've ever been to New York City or a big city, let me show you the picture right there. You'll see them kind of like bolted to the hood of the car. You cannot operate a taxi in the city of New York City, for example, without having one of these medallions. So and they're traded like liquor licenses would be traded. Placer County is a good example of an area where a new restaurant opens up and you can't get maybe any liquor at all or some liquor because there's only X numbers of liquor licenses. So you either got to they close down Fodorero Bar and buy their license, or you got to get in line. Well, same thing with the medallions. One of those sold for $2.25 million. And there is a way, if you want to invest your money in other things other than stocks and bonds, you can buy wine, classic cars, sports teams, and other things. Let me give you an idea how these have done returns. The Live X 100 Fine Wine Index has annualized returns of 10% since 2002. Now tell me you're very familiar 10%. With the Live X 100 Fine Wine Index. But you can buy, it's a fund that buys and trades wines. So it's up 10%. Prices of classic cars have risen 13% since 1980. Sports teams, not so good. Stringed instruments. Mid-20th century guitars are angling to become the new violins, which generate an average return of about 3.5% in classic guitars. So you can.
I'm still stuck on this taxi medallion. So I can pay $2.25 million for a taxi medallion, or I can pay $2.5 million for this 2012, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Koenigsegg Agera R, Agerar, new car.
Yeah, $2 million for the car?
Yeah.
But it goes like from...
This is pretty sweet. Taxi medallion, sweet car.
Well, that goes down in value. Taxi medallion earns you money. And by the way, the average price for taxi medallion is about $500,000. So this, for whatever reason, this one was...
All right. So that's why you're in that chair and I'm in this chair.
That's right. You're racing the cars. And now, if we could put the taxi medallion on that car, the problem is you never get above like 9 miles an hour on the taxi. That thing goes, what, 160, 180?
190.
190. So there you go. And you do, and I am. If you're not familiar with owning things outside of regular stocks and bonds in your portfolio, you can do it. The most common one you hear all the time, particularly if you listen to any kind of satellite radio, Sirius or anything like that, you hear buy gold, physical gold. You can hold the gold. Gold you can hold in your hand. Let me tell you something about how that works, as I understand it. You cannot hold the gold in your hand. You cannot hold the classic guitar in your house. You cannot hold the wine in your cellar. Anything you hold in your IRA, which is the same thing as real property, which you can do, you cannot have any direct control over it. You cannot have any benefit from it. And I get asked all the time, well, I'd like to buy a condo at North Star or a place up at Tahoe in my IRA and just so I can go use it, let my family use it. You cannot. And not only can you not, the penalty for getting caught for using personally using those things voids your entire IRA. So they don't just take that item out. Everything you've got in your IRA is considered null and void. All the tax comes due, blah blah blah. So you can wipe the whole thing out. So you got to be very careful when you get into these other things. When they say you can personally hold the gold, you can't. You don't get to put it in your own safe. It's not your money. It's the government's money still. You haven't paid the taxes on it yet. So be very, very careful when you look at those articles. So interesting things if you're into them. Off the text line, I'm not reading that one. I do like this one. We were talking about excuses why I'm late for work from the 916. It's been so long since I was at work, I forgot where work was. So that is probably a little bit too true for some people. Some good news in the housing front of things. A lot of articles, particularly in Sacramento. Sacramento 2013 increases a forecast for increase in home prices, and housing in general has been doing very, very well. The Schiller Index shows year-to-date increase about 5.9% in house prices. So if you got one, you're doing okay. I mean, unless you're still way, way upside down, but it's coming back the other way. If you're looking for one, dang, it's hard.
It's tough.
It is really, really hard to find one. And there was a few articles. If you saw, probably the only bright spot in the last 2 weeks of earnings news has been from home builders, because people actually forgot who home builders were. So for them to even show up at the meeting and say, hi, we actually made $1, they're like, who are you? So home builders, any sort of news out of them is considered to be just like a bonus at this point, when they used to be the leader. So they're picking up too. But there was a great article in yesterday's Wall Street Journal about the high costs that builders are going through. And I was, if you've been listening to me for a little bit as I started the remodel of my own house, I've been attesting this to myself. It's still not possible to build something cheaper than you can find something for. It just
right.
It isn't possible. So and that's hard. It's a hard thing to grasp, particularly when you can't find what you want and you want to go in and try to fix something up like we did and do it. And there are lumber is extremely expensive right now. I'm not even going to mention all of the copper and all the stuff that goes in for the plumbing, and labor is still real expensive. So the raw materials, the materials that cost to actually put something together right now, those aren't at a discounted price. And so if you're trying, and that's the same thing these new home builders are experiencing. They're like, God, we'd love to build the houses for you, but we still have a price point we got to meet.
Yeah, a lot of them aren't even interested in starting to build because of the land cost plus this. It's just not in the market right now.
Yeah, so if you're having to deliver a home price at $250, in Roseville, and you're into your land for $150, the numbers just aren't there yet, and it's frustrating for them and it's frustrating for the buyers. But the reality is that we're, as a group of home buyers, we're going to have to come to the realization that prices are going to go up, because you're already starting to see it now. When one house finally does come on the market, it's getting bid up, and so you're going to have to offer more, and we're going to see some appreciation. We're already seeing it.
Yep.
And if you want to buy a new house, you're going to have to pay the new house prices, and they're more. And if you want to remodel one, which a lot of you people call me to do, and I understand it, I'm doing it, but the numbers still don't work. I mean, you can't buy something and fix it up and make it appraise, because it's just so darn expensive.
You got to really like what you're building,
or you got to put a lot down. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to, is that you've got to actually just put a lot in cash so that when you're done, your finished loan amount still keeps you in line with what the appraised value of the property is. Because while you may have the trickiest house on the block when you're done, and you probably will, there ain't nothing like it that's sold, and so the appraiser can't give you all of the money you put in. Yet the market may eventually, when you sell, they probably will. But on an appraised value, it's very difficult right now to remodel something and make it appraised, because you're still competing with all these short sales. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's what's happening in that world there. I didn't get to my be careful what you tweet, because you might see it on TV someday. We'll talk about that next week too. But some big companies, my favorite is the Samsung. You guys watch the Samsung ads?
Oh, my son he's 9 years old. Dad, no more Apple. This is what I want.
Killing Apple with those ads.
Oh.
I love those. And those are based off of tweets. Samsung has their ad campaign says we've been watching what people are tweeting, the funny things they're saying back and forth, and they're making ads out of the things you and I are tweeting. So if you are from the 530 and you're full of fun stuff there, be careful. You might see yourself on TV. So that is it for another week. We're praying for some more snow.
Yes.
Praying to get out of my apartment. And that's it. Have a good night. Good week in the market. We'll catch up with you next Saturday. You can find us during the week. All these shows are put back up on podcast if Chris gets his rear end in gear on the Talkin Money Facebook page. And you can find me at jefftarbell.com. His name is John Fodorero. He's at Comstock Mortgage as well. And we'll see you next Saturday, everybody.
Yes.
Be cool. And we didn't talk about Tacoma. We'll do that too. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Aloha.
Talkin' money.